With more than 6,000 small and micro-cap companies listed, if you're looking for the next apple at the earliest stage, then ChannelChek truly is the orchard. The listed companies support ChannelChek, so it's free for you, the potential investor, to gain access to institutional quality research from FINRA licensed analysts, advanced market data, industry reports, news, and a growing catalog of videos and webcasts. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and register for ChannelChek so you're always up to date on what's going on at the small and microcap data place. Welcome to SPACtrac, presented by ChannelChek and Noble Capital Markets. Noble is an SEC-registered, FINRA-licensed broker-dealer and the source of the equity research available on ChannelChek. This program is designed for investors to stay up to date on the progress of special-purpose acquisition companies. Today's interview features Gelesis. Following a brief corporate overview from the management team, Noble Senior Research Analyst Gregory Aurand interviews Gelesis founder and CEO Yishai Zohar, Chief Operating and Commercial Officer David Pass, and CFO Elliot Maltz. Visit channelchek.com or click the link in the description for an exclusive SPAC report on Gelesis and Capstar Special Acquisition Corp, as well as news and advanced market data. And now, here's Gregory, Yishai, David, and Elliot.
Hello. Before I introduce the management, I'd like to comment on the weight management market. Overweight and obese numbers are at epidemic levels, with 70% of adults in the US overweight or obese. Globally, 37% are overweight or obese, reaching crisis levels. The pandemic has made things worse, with weight gain seen among adults. But while a large number want to lose weight, the vast majority of those who diet on their own fail. The opportunity is quite considerable, and Capstar Special Acquisition Corp, ticker CPSR, a special purpose acquisition company, is de-SPACing by bringing a novel weight loss product to the public market through its acquisition of Gelesis. With that, I'd like to welcome Yishai Zohar, founder and chief executive officer of Gelesis, David Pass, chief operating and commercial officer of Gelesis, and Elliot Maltz, chief financial officer of Gelesis. Welcome to you all, and thank you for speaking with us.
I'm really proud to introduce you to Gelesis and share with you how we are transforming the weight loss industry. More than 7 out of 10 Americans struggle with excess weight, making it a near universal issue. Although this is such a dramatic problem, less than 2% of this population receives medical treatment. Compare that to diabetes, another large health problem, where 80% of patients are treated. When someone wants to lose weight, what options do they have? There are surprisingly few scientifically proven tools available for people on a weight loss journey. Diet and lifestyle modification are always considered first. Unfortunately, for the majority of the people, those don't work in the long term. On the other side, the improved drugs and surgery don't really address the needs of people who are overweight or having mild obesity. For them, using expensive drugs chronically, with safety or tolerability issues, or even more risky, surgery, are not considered good options. So the majority of the population is left without a solution. That's why we created a completely different approach to address this vast need. Interestingly, COVID has further highlighted the long existing issues with excess weight and brought the problem further into the spotlight, with 71 million Americans having gained weight during the pandemic. The COVID pandemic also highlighted the need for more accessible forms of care. The data shows that over 80% of consumers will continue to use telehealth, and that's true for physicians as well. For the majority of the population that are just overweight or at early stages of obesity, telehealth represents a great opportunity, as most patients and physicians prefer not to bring up weight management issues. Of course, in order to take advantage of such opportunity, a highly favorable safety and tolerability profile is needed. So our mission is clear: to empower people to improve and change their diet, lifestyle, and health using a novel, nature-inspired technology. And with Plenity, we have already begun to do just that. If you have ever tried to lose weight, you know how frustratingly few options you have that actually work. The root cause boils down to two things: portion size and food composition. I don't need to tell you the problem with portion size. The other issue is what we eat. Most of the foods we eat have a very high caloric density, and we don't eat enough vegetables and fruits. The reason vegetables and fruits are so important is that they create a solid gel in the stomach and maintain their shape, structure, and firmness through nearly the entire digestive process. We asked ourselves, could we develop a product taken in capsules that would create a similar gel as a large amount of vegetables would create in the digestive system? We wanted to treat people with a non-systemic and locally acting approach, and not with drugs that act in the brain or injected hormones. So we use science to create the same effect of volume, firmness, and low caloric density in a natural cycling way, like meals, which include a large amount of raw vegetables. We had to develop a material that did not exist. Our breakthrough proprietary technology is based on the concept of biomimicry. Biomimicry is the design of materials modeled on biologic structures, thereby leveraging natural designs that have evolved to work favorably in the body, the R&D of nature. In this case, we are mimicking some of the compositional and mechanical properties of raw vegetables. Imagine filling 1/4 of the stomach, not with a foreign object, such as a gastric balloon, but with a material like this, which becomes an integrated part of the meals without any additional calories and is administered simply in capsules. Our first major milestone was developing the first and only superabsorbent hydrogel made only from foods. In fact, it's made from cellulose, which together with water is the main building block of vegetables and fruits. We were granted dozens of patents around the world protecting our proprietary technology. Then we took this nature-inspired technology through preclinical and then clinical development to reach another important milestone: the FDA clearance for our first commercial product, Plenity. I want to emphasize that we have the best team in place to fully unlock the exciting opportunities before us. Members of this team you are meeting today with represent the best in experiences in consumer branding, successful commercial product launches, deep expertise in obesity and weight loss, and robust clinical and scientific expertise. While not listed on this slide, I want to mention that we also have an impressive scientific advisory board with many of the top experts in the field. Now, I will hand it over to my colleague, David Pass, our Chief Operational Officer. Thank you. I can repeat that.
Thanks, Yishai.
Yeah.
Everything we do commercially is designed to help support our members on their efforts to lose weight. Now, we call them members and not customers because we don't see it as a transaction relationship, but long-term journey support. So if you're looking to lose weight, there's often a lot standing in your way, like weight bias, fad diets, false promises, and that very real feeling of endless hunger. Plenity challenges the notion that you should live feeling deprived and combines an FDA-cleared prescription product with a supporting member experience. Plenity is not a diet, a magic pill, or a drug. It's a clinically proven weight management treatment that aims to help you on your journey. So let's talk about our target members. They have a body mass index, or BMI, of 25 to 35, although the indication goes all the way up to 40. Our target is driven by the importance of meeting consumer expectations for weight loss. For example, losing 10% of your body weight, or about 22 pounds, which is what we saw in our study in terms of responders, is both clinically meaningful and quite satisfying for the person who has a baseline weight of about 220 pounds. In contrast, starting at 300 pounds and losing 10% of your body weight, or 30 pounds, is clinically meaningful, but it's not likely to meet their initial expectations. Now, we know we'll get people with higher BMIs by default, and in fact, We're already seeing that in the marketplace, but we're not targeting them initially. Now, by targeting that 130 million of the 150 million people who are overweight or have obesity, the target market is still very large, and our target market penetration is less than 1%. So our technology and clinical profile has enabled us to do things commercially very different. Our unifying company belief is that the consumer, the ultimate member, should be at the center of everything we do. First and foremost, it's about consumer engagement. Creating that primary pull from our potential members allows them to be in the driver's seat. And it also allows us to significantly reduce the cost of infrastructure for large-scale sales forces calling mostly on primary care docs, although we do have a small sales force with targeted effort on primary care doctors. We enable the consumer to decide when is the right time and place and free of cost to interact with a physician. And it's all powered by using the enabling technology of telehealth. Having that product acquisition delivered with Amazon-like simplicity to your door in 2 days builds on the consumer-centric experience. And then finally, knowing the cost of the product when you buy it at $98 for a 28-day supply or $1.75 a day, not having to deal with the hurdles and hassles of payers, co-pays, or reimbursement hoops further lowers the barrier to access. So really it takes our platform technology that Yishai described, plus our go-to-market approach is really what makes us different. Thank you very much. I'll hand it back to you, Greg.
You touched on the science a little bit in the development of Plenity. How did you actually discover that the Biomimetic approach would actually be of use for weight loss?
We thought that we look to what could be the root cause of this huge pandemic, which basically started in the 50s. Together with the invention of the fast foods and the change from and a dramatic change in lifestyle, where almost every family started to have a car or few cars, when people started to walk much less and eat gradually less and less naturally derived real foods, moving more and more to highly processed foods, rich with fat and carbohydrates, sugars. And we thought, what approach could we develop which would be completely different than all the pharmacological approaches that are, trying to bypass our lifestyle, our diet, and go directly to the brain, usually, to try to make us feel that we are not hungry. We thought, how can we address that? What is the thing that will be as close as possible to improving the quality of the diet and to create satiety and fullness through the most natural way? That's how this thought began.
So basically, we're overeating. I guess it comes down to we're simply overeating and we're not doing as much to burn off the calories. And this really solves a lot of that problem for a lot of people. Regarding the trial, which got you FDA approval, can you talk about how strong the efficacy was in terms of results? And also, I think for many people, even though it's not considered a drug, were there any side effects presented in the study?
So what we saw is a very strong effect on the categorical endpoint. Weight loss studies could be measured by two completely different types of endpoints. The average weight loss for the whole population, that's one way to measure them. The other is the categorical endpoint, meaning what proportion of the patients achieved clinically meaningful weight loss. Those could be sometimes the same, So, for example, you can have a treatment or therapy or a drug or a new fantastic diet that will work on everyone, theoretically. It never happened so far, by the way, but theoretically it could happen. And then you will have unified performance on everyone. Or you can have a treatment that will have a very strong effect or a very good effect on a portion of the population. That's the categorical type of effect. Obesity is a very heterogeneous disease. There are, scientists are arguing on the number of types of obesity that you can have, and the list is very long. Therefore, it's probably not a good idea to look for treatments that will work for everyone, and we will need a lot of different good approaches. What we found in our pivotal study is that 6 out of 10 subjects in the study achieved clinically meaningful weight loss. And that's very nice achievement, especially considering that it was a 6-month study, as it's required for medical devices, because we are regulated as a medical device, by the way. In a minute, I can explain why. As far as your part of question regarding the safety, what we saw is a very favorable safety profile, where really there was no significant difference, statistically significant difference, as far as the safety profile between placebo and the treatment arm, which is really quite an impressive achievement. There was some, except for some difference of less than 10% in the GI, gastrointestinal related events, which were typically resolved quite quickly in all the patients, and with a very low dropout rate, which was interestingly even lower in the treatment arm than in the placebo arm. In our case, it was higher actually in the placebo arm.
Terrific. So you've got a product that seems to work well, has minimal side effects relative to placebo issues, and I think you're targeting patients directly, or as you call them, members. And you have telehealth services partnerships. Why telehealth? I think you touched on this at some point earlier in the presentation. But why telehealth? What's the
answer? Sure.
So what was really important, Greg, as we thought about this, it wasn't about telehealth or not telehealth. It was how we keep the member at the center of everything we do. And we know that access is an issue. So we wanted to give members the opportunity for multiple paths to prescription. What worked best for them? Once again, choosing that right time and place for them, the convenience. So telehealth provides an option for someone who wants to see a physician, a licensed healthcare practitioner, and to be able to get the prescription, go through a visit, physician reviews the profile, and if it's appropriate, that patient has the prescription delivered within 2 days to their house. So it's very convenient. At the same time, it was also really important for folks who wanted to have that traditional interaction, who had a primary care doc or a specialist and wanted to talk to them, they could prescribe it as well. So what we did is we provided 2 paths. We think telehealth is a great way to go, as well as the traditional interaction. In fact, really interesting fact, Greg, we found that 50% of people who went through telehealth would not have otherwise reached out to get a prescription for a weight loss medication. So in fact, what we're doing is we're lowering that bar to access and really making it easier for the patient when they want to engage, how they want to engage with regard to their own health and their weight loss journey.
Oh, terrific. So you made patient access relatively easy. Can you talk about the cost? I mean, you mentioned simple pricing, and I think this is something that's very attractive for the product itself to gain traction in the market. But can you talk about the pricing to consumers?
Yeah, it goes along with the whole thinking about the consumer first. And we know that there are challenges with regard to insurance and copays, and historically, the category has not been terribly well reimbursed. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to make it very clear and transparent what the pricing is. So it's $98 for a 28-day supply. If our member chooses to get a 12-week supply, there's a 15% reduction, or bringing it down to a lower cost for that patient on a daily basis. So what we want to do is we make it transparent Now, if someone has a healthcare spending account, they can obviously use it for that as well, but we wanted to make it easy along with how the access is. So really, once again, addressing access and transparency for our members.
I understand also that you have some, based on your approach here to commercialize the product, you're obtaining data on the members and the patients. How does that help the business overall, do you think?
Yeah, so great question. So as you think about first-party data, and what's really unique about what we're doing is we're combining first-party data, which we have 40% of our members opt in to communicate directly with us. The average in the industry is about 1%. 1%. We have about 40% of people who are opting to communicate directly with us. So when you pair this first-party data with our digitally native platform, so it allows us to better meet the needs of our members, to predict what they may want, offer them goods and services, but also communicate and provide them support along the way, because it's not a magic pill. It's an addition to diet and exercise. So what we can do is provide them resources. And part of that member experience is giving the member access to tools, healthcare professionals, in terms of being able to get emails, text articles about nutrition, diet, exercise, and support them on their journey. So it's not just about the product. It's about the product and the support, because at the end of the day, it is a journey. Everybody's journey is different. And that first-party data allows us to understand what our members want and try to predict and help them on their journey.
That's terrific, because a lot of diets fail because people try it on their own and they just need the support and they're not getting it. So I think this is very helpful for a lot of consumers to understand this, that there's help out there and they can actually improve their results by utilizing those services. That's terrific.
Yeah, it's so true, Greg. It's interesting. The number one reason that people stop diet and exercise is that life gets in the way. So once again, making that access easy and supporting them on their journey is important. The other key thing that people struggle with is deprivation. And as Yishai described, it was the platform specifically designed to address that issue of deprivation.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, that's usually my problem. I'll be honest with you. If I try to not eat during the day, I end up eating more at the end of the day just to compensate, and that's not a good thing. As far as the marketing of the commercialization of the product, you're in the early stages, I understand, of getting the product out there in the market in a full-scale way. Can you touch on that?
Yeah, so we're really excited about what we've seen so far in our beta launch. So we have been using just really search and social in terms of consumer activation. So reaching out, we haven't done any broad brand advertising. That will come post the SPAC. But really what we've been doing is educating consumers, just going out, search and social, making them aware. We have somewhere between 7 and 10, 12,000 people a day coming to our website. We have over 70,000 members who have started on their weight management journey. So we have a great base of experience to build on. And really what we're excited to do is, as you think about the different arms, so we've used search and social. We've just started back at the end of August of this year with our sales force, educating healthcare professionals. And the goal of that is so when patients go in and ask their physician about it, the physician will say yes. And based upon market research, we know 8 out of 10 times, if a patient asks a physician for Plenity and they know about it, the answer is going to be yes. So the grant rate is very high. So you take the search and social we've done, you take the HCP education, the healthcare professional education, and then really what drives the whole model is that consumer activation at a broad brand advertising perspective, using multiple channels to drive patients, educate patients, so they go either ask their physician or go to telehealth. And the experience we've seen so far since we've been out in earnest of October of last year has been really, really satisfying, and it's definitely moving us on that journey and our mission that Yishai described.
Terrific. I hate to use cliches, but it sounds like you might have people beating down your door to get access to the product. But how does that work into your capabilities to address that demand if you see a lot of people beating down your door to access the product? What kind of capacity do you have to fulfill that demand?
So right now, we've very recently completed a significant scale up in our manufacturing capacity. We have validated the first commercial line to produce Plenity at a large scale to address the U.S. market as well as our partner CMS and the relationship we have in China. So we do plan for a continuous scale up of capacity as we move through the launch. So while we've validated the first commercial line, we have lines 2 and 3 under development, with each line producing about 160,000 units on a monthly basis, and a unit is a 28-day supply. And we have plans to continue scaling, yep, right there behind David's shoulder. And we have plans to continue scaling up from there. Now, the manufacturing is a novel process. It's a unique proprietary method that only we in the world have the ability and know how to do. So it's important that we retain that know-how as we scale up and grow the company. But obviously, manufacturing is a key part of our story, and we are well underway scaling up to meet demand.
Since you touched on it, the product behind David's shoulder there, can you actually demonstrate or show us a little bit about how it actually works? I understand it's quite consumer or member friendly in terms of how they get the package, how they receive the product, and how they can utilize it.
We just rolled out the new package and we're very excited. We've just transitioned and our members will start getting all this new packaging. Actually, over the last 2 weeks, they've started to get it. So we're excited about that. We actually redesigned the packaging specifically to support the members. As I said before, Greg, life getting in the way is the number one reason that people stop. So a couple things. So when the member gets a 28-day supply, their first 28-day supply, they'll get basically 4 sleeves. A sleeve is a week. As you know, the dose is two doses, 1 dose at lunch and 1 dose at dinner. Each pod contains 3 capsules. That's the dose. They take it before lunch and dinner. Very simple. And what we've done to make it easy is these sleeves fit right into these very convenient these tubes. These canisters, once again, contain the same thing, and it allows you to keep it on the counter, so it's convenient for the member to get it, once again, driving persistence and compliance. The other thing that we've done is, as part of this, we wanted to, consistent with our manufacturing process, we wanted to make this earth-friendly. So the vast majority of the packaging, we've removed a lot of it in terms of being disposable, earth-friendly, in terms of recycling, but also, and Elliot can speak to it, brought down the cost of goods as a result of it. So really, it's good for our members because it helps persistence compliance, hopefully. It's good for the earth in terms of the biodegradable nature of the majority of the components, and it's good for the bottom line.
Just to elaborate on that, David really pulled out a miracle where he managed to get a package that's designed to be not only more attractive and consumer friendly, but also, to his point, reduce our cost of goods considerably, which will help us achieve our profitability numbers sooner.
You bring up a good point about cost of goods and also your projected revenues. How do you, is it really just in terms of capacity expansion that you expect to get the improvement in expected gross margin, or is it a function of improving costs, again, the packaging side or other things? Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, and it's really a combination of the two. The first is where we were historically, which is where we were manufacturing off of a pilot scale line, which is a manual batch process. And as we transition to that commercial scale facility that I mentioned has just been validated and is producing now, that's a much more streamlined, semi-continuous process with much higher yields, which does drive significant savings in our cost of goods, and especially as we scale the capacity, spread out our fixed costs over a wider base, and frankly get more experience operating the commercial lines and finding efficiencies in how we utilize raw materials and avoid waste. And then on the packaging side, which is the other component to our manufacturing cost, since the packaging is a considerable percentage of the overall cost of goods, the improvements that we made in the package with this redesign, where we now have a starter kit as well as a refill kit, that further drives down reductions in cost of goods and allows us to spread out our supply chain in a more cost-effective manner, control costs in the early phase of the launch, while also scaling a capacity to meet that growing demand that we project.
Oh, terrific. That sounds excellent. I mean, you've got all the I's dotted and the T's crossed, again, using really bad cliches. But in terms of the SEC review process and the merged company, where are you in that process, and when do you think you get to the finish line on the combination?
It's a great question. We've had several rounds of iteration with the SEC in terms of filing our S4 and then amended S4. We filed the most recent amendment to our S4 this past Monday, and anticipate updating our filing very soon to drop in Q3 numbers. And where this leads us to pending clearance from the SEC and effectiveness on our S4A.
So just in time for people needing to start thinking about the resolutions for the new year. I mean, that's good timing, I think, in terms of getting exposure to the market, becoming public, as well as people needing your product ever more than ever. So I think that's a very attractive time frame. I appreciate the commentary. That's all I have at this point. So I'll wrap up our conversation. If there's any other last comments you'd like to make, please do so. Otherwise, thank you, Yishai, David, and Elliot, for your time. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Yep. As a reminder to the viewers who are seeing this, if you'd like to learn more about Capstar and Gelesis, we issued a research report on Capstar Special Acquisition Corp, which can be found on our ChannelChek website under the ticker CPSR. And again, with that, thank you, Yishai, David, and Elliot. I certainly appreciate your time.
Thank you for joining us for this SPACtrac presentation, brought to you by ChannelChek. Visit our YouTube channel for more special purpose acquisition company content, as well as C-suite interviews, virtual roadshows, and conference presentation replays. New content is added regularly, so subscribe below to stay up to date. Visit channelchek.com or click the link in the description to access reports, news, and advanced market data on this and the more than 6,000 companies listed.